Hi, welcome back, everyone, to the Personality Code 28 Ways to Identify Your Personality and Leverage Your Uniqueness. I'm Andrew Colombini, your host. And today we have a very special guest tuning in from Kenya, Dr. Ameet Aggarwal. How are you doing today?
Good, Andrew. Super excited to talk about family constellations, healing ancestral and family trauma. And we might go into, vagus nerve, adrenal response, fight or flight, and also how physical disease manifests through emotional trauma, including family trauma.
Yes, I'm super excited to have you on here because if you guys are watching right now, you're probably like, well, what's the personality code or what's the personality? Well, in order to live in alignment, the point of knowing your personality is to live in alignment with your true authentic self.
Mhm.
And if I have anchors in my ship, doesn't matter how much wind is in my sail, I'm not going anywhere. So we must heal the things that are keeping us stuck. And one of the best methods I've found is through family constellation work. And so that's exactly what our topic is going to be today is how do we heal the things that aren't us through family constellation therapy, Gestalt psychotherapy. I know Dr. Meat has a bag of goodies in his little bag that he's going to share with us today on how to move through this. So we're going to have a lot of fun. And before we do, I want to introduce all of you to Dr. Meat, just in case you don't know who he is. He was voted of the top 43 naturopathic doctors worldwide. He helps thousands of people around the world heal from trauma, anxiety, depression, ancestral trauma, chronic disease by combining naturopathic medicine, psychotherapy, homeopathy, and family constellation therapy to heal the root causes of disease and emotional illness. If you really want to heal the root cause of the mind body issues, you got to check out his work, which it's down below. And we're going to get to that in just a second. So definitely stay tuned towards the end, you guys. But before we dive in, Dr. Amit, can you please tell us a little bit about your journey and how you got into this field?
Gosh, so I grew up in Kenya, grew up in boarding school, lots of bullying, abandonment from, parents, and it was a British boarding school as well, so I felt intimidated also because of my color and the culture of like British boarding schools. So grew up very timid, right? And in a lot of pain. And then obviously, like any teenager, ate lots of junk food, delved into drugs and things like that. So I was a bit of a mess. Not a mess, but not happy in life, not healthy, super healthy.
Mhm.
And I volunteered in northern Kenya with the tribes with a naturopathic doctor, just doing mobile clinics. I didn't know what naturopathic medicine was at that time. And I wanted to do something for the communities related to medicine, but holistic medicine, because I feel things in people naturally. I can pick up on emotions and feelings and sensations. And it blew my mind what I saw happening in the bush. It seemed like a real doctor, but with holistic therapies. So I went to Canada, studied naturopathic medicine at one of the best schools I've ever been to in my life, the Canadian College of Naturopathic Medicine. Really blew my mind studying there. And that's where a lot of physical things started healing. I detoxed from past drug use with homeopathy. I heal my gut, my liver, etc. with herbs and homeopathics as well, which I talk about in my online course. Gut healing herbs, liver detox herbs, homeopathics for liver detox, and also homeopathics for trauma. And then something wasn't fully healed. And I ended up going to the Gestalt Institute in Canada. And there I was faced with facing my fears and my traumas during childhood. And that's when I realized, gosh, I've been holding a lot from being beaten in school. So in Kenya, caning was allowed. So we were beaten every day by the teachers.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that was normal for getting our sums wrong or for being late, etc.
Like getting
Um,
math problems wrong?
every two sums you get wrong, you get one stick. That
Oh,
was the rule.
oh my God. I'd have been beaten and battered.
Yeah, I became very good at math, needless to say.
Oh,
But
yeah.
and there was a lot of abandonment from my mom and my dad, and feeling betrayed about being left out in this school. Teachers were very mean; they were abusive as well. So all
Mm.
this stuff started getting unentangled, and I got my confidence back. I felt it was okay to be seen, my vulnerable emotions to be heard, and I felt like it's okay to be me again. And that's what we're going to talk about today. Of course, being you and being authentic helps you be in alignment with your true path.
Mm-hmm.
And so I did 4 years of Gestalt therapy, then went on to study EMDR and other trauma healing techniques. And so healing the mind and body together just transformed my life completely. And again, I cover all that in my course. Back in Kenya now, I was doing mobile clinics for poor communities, driving in a Jeep. People can watch that video on my website, where I'll treat communities for free. And eventually I came across Family Constellations Therapy by Bert Hellinger. I was like, what is this stuff? And I went for a training and it blew my mind. It was beyond any other therapy I've done in my life because many of us, those of you listening, we're all receiving traumas or holding on to traumas that don't belong to us. They belong to our mother, our father. Maybe you've had a miscarriage or an abortion, or maybe your parents have had a miscarriage or abortion. All these kind of events, or whether it's a murder in the family, a love affair, either by one of your parents or one of your grandparents, all these kind of experiences in their lives as well as your lives have an energetic effect on your soul, yeah, on your nervous system. And this is the unseen trauma that no one talks about. And Bert Hellinger, the originator of family constellations therapy, found a way to identify these unhealed or unseen traumas so that we can disentangle from them and really live our fullest potential in life. Because these unseen traumas are holding us back. Like Andrew said, if we have many anchors holding a ship, no matter how much wind comes in the sails, we're not going anywhere. These unseen traumas are anchors in us. Yeah. What do these traumas look like? I'll give examples. Often they look at like loyalties. So if my mom was abused by my father, for example, if somebody's listening, if your mom was abused by your father, you have a natural loyalty to her as the weaker parent. It might look like I will protect you, mom. I will make sure I'm by your side and I can resonate with your sadness and unhappiness and feel, how you were a victim to all this. I will also reject my father, maybe. So this busyness that we go through uh, in response to a loyalty with mom, it takes over our nervous system, it takes over our mentality, our mind, and we become this personality that is kind of stuck protecting or rescuing mom. And we think it's normal, and it is very natural to do. But at what cost? It costs us a lot to do these entanglements. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And the cost is often unhappiness, yeah, or
Mm-hmm.
self-sabotage, or blocking ourselves from a fulfilling relationship, or even being successful in life. These entanglements, it could be with mom, it could be with dad, it could be with a grandparent, or an unborn sibling. They take up energy. So when you might feel fatigued, anxious, depressed, okay, or even have physical diseases. I'll give you an example of a patient I had with gastronoma, stomach cancer. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
super high tumor markers, over 3,000. And she came to see me, and because I do naturopathic medicine, homeopathy, and all this gestalt and constellation work, we started with the homeopathy and diet changes. And some changes were happening for her physical improvement, but not enough to, move the cancer. And then I asked her what happened 3 to 6 months before this cancer diagnosis, right? Because I could also feel in family constellations, we're trained to feel what's happening in people's lives. And she
Mm-hmm.
broke down in tears. She cried and cried, and I said, "Okay, something happened, and what happened exactly?" She was like, "Well, I found out my father had an affair,"
Mm-hmm.
and she couldn't swallow it or stomach it or digest it. Yeah, you see the correlation between
Interesting.
that and stomach cancer.
Mm-hmm.
And she says, "I felt so bad for my mother. I was protecting my mother and rejecting my father." Yeah. And this came out through the session. And so, using family constellations, we got her to say healing sentences. Yeah. The healing sentences sounded something like this. So, in family constellations, we use healing sentences to disentangle from the trauma. Yeah. I'll explain the healing sentence, but I want to tell you that basically the tumor markers dropped from 3,000 almost to like below 100 or
Wow,
redetected.
that's fascinating and
Yeah.
really cool.
The healing sentence looked like this. I asked her to say to her mom, imagine her mom, and say, "Dear mom, I've been protecting you and taking your side. I love you very much. Is it okay if I look at dad again the way I used to look at him?
Mm.
Is it okay if I respect you as the big one and understand that you can handle this betrayal or this experience? I don't even call it betrayal because then the client is still judging her father.
Mm.
Then I got her to say, "Dear dad, it's costing me my life to reject you. It surprised me what you did. I was very hurt by it. I'm also borrowing some of mom's anger against you. Not all of it is all mine, and I see that now. I still love you in some part of me. Please, will you take me back as your daughter? Or, I take you back into my heart." The exact words are in my online course. So I have an online course in family constellations. Um, but this released the trauma in her nervous system. And she could really feel the letting go of the conflict between mom and dad and her loyalty to mom and the rejection of dad. Because, both mom and dad are sources of life. They're your parents. I'm
Mm.
not saying you have to agree with affairs or betrayals, um, but it comes at a point where when you're rejecting a parent, it creates disease in us because our parents give us life. They're a life force. Yeah. And so when we go against these life forces, it creates an inner conflict. And that inner conflict has, has physiological manifestations, which are often disease.
Mm.
Another client I had a lot of anxiety, and we did Gestalt therapy, two-chair work, homeopathy, etc. And then I asked her, "Please go ask your mom if there was a miscarriage or abortion in your family." She went ahead, talked to her mom. She came. I was super surprised to find out there was a miscarriage. And she came back to me and says, "How did you know that?" And I said, it's known that these unrecognized children, yeah, miscarriages, abortions, when they're not talked about, not given a place in our lives, that perpetuates as physical symptoms in the following children.
Mm.
So for her, I got her to look at this unborn child before her and say, "You came first, I come second. I'm the second child.
Mm.
Dear mom, dear dad, I'm the second child. Please forgive me if I leave the sadness with you of losing a child. And please give me my place as the second child. I want to feel my true place."
Hmm.
It sounds so woo woo, but in one
It
session,
works though.
anxiety disappeared because she was overwhelmed with trying to live the first position when she belonged in the second position. And she was
Mm.
also
Interesting.
kind of living the life of this child who was not mentioned. She was trying to live her life and the life of another child. And by mentioning or naming this unseen child, unborn child, and it's given a place, then she doesn't have to live two lives and she can find her true life, her true potential.
Mm-hmm. I have a question on that because, first off, you guys listening right now, this is how you actually move through the thing. It's not some kind of new technique you learn from Tony Robbins or anything. It's actually going into the unconscious and doing this type of work. And you'd be surprised at what comes after. Because I had a similar thing with my mom when my parents split. I became my mom's emotional provider. So I got in between, I got triangulated, and then I was living a life that wasn't mine. I grew up faster and
Mm.
but you brought up something and maybe you can touch on it because I've also questioned and I never really got this feedback because I kind of recently found out my mom after me was going to have a daughter, but it was miscarriage. I don't even think it was a month or two you're in the womb, but it
Yeah,
was it was early, but enough to know. And I almost feel like, and maybe you can tune in right now or
absolutely.
take a good stab at it either way, but I feel like I was maybe living out two children's life. Like I wasn't like allowed to grow up. Because whenever it came to success and creating money and finances and stuff, like leaving the nest was so hard. And I felt like my mom gave me too much. Like she saved me too much. And she also, I've noticed this whenever my girlfriend's around or my younger cousin who's a girl, she's like really excited. I think she might have really wanted a daughter. I don't know. That's just how I perceive it. But how would that affect? Maybe if they're because I'm the first son, she would have been the second.
Yeah.
How would that would it have? what's yeah,
I
just
can
curious.
tune it. Yeah, I can feel it already.
Okay.
Your mother did not give you too much. Yeah.
Okay.
And yes, you were looking after your mother, you were triangulated there. When she lost that child, you took over responsibility for her sadness.
Mm.
Just feel that for a moment. There's a right there, right there. Okay?
Mm.
Yeah. And you can try this. Dear mom, some of this is yours. You try saying that aloud or in your mind and see what happens.
Dear, we're going to do it now.
Wow, you see, I can feel that on my skin, like I'm just getting goosebumps. And then it's not finished yet.
uh,
There's also a loyalty to this unborn child.
mm.
So once you first, the first layer is, dear mom, some of this is yours.
This is yours. Mm.
Then, dear sibling, I've missed you as well.
Yeah, dear sibling, I've missed you as well.
And just feel that. As you say that, you good right there. Beautiful. Now you're feeling your true position. Nice. You can now feel your true position according to your other sibling. And you can correct me if I'm wrong. I don't want to think
No,
listeners
no,
are
good.
stuff.
I really wanted
You
a
can give the
sibling growing
feedback
up.
yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, did
What's happening for you, Andrew, for the listeners to understand?
it just I just allowed what you're saying to hit and see if it hit, and it did. That breath felt and it felt good, and it was true.
Yeah.
And
And then the next sentence could be, please forgive me if I live and you couldn't
mm,
or
yeah,
you didn't.
please forgive. That's man. Yeah, please forgive me if I live and you didn't.
And just feel that.
Hmm. Wow.
And yeah. And that unconscious guilt is often what causes people not to succeed in life
It
as
was
well.
so much guilt. I feel like I've had so much guilt growing up.
Yeah. And it's not yours.
Mm. God, it's so good.
And just embrace her. Really embrace her. Give her a hug. I invite you to give her a hug as a older brother. Give her a play. Nice, nice. Take your time. And you can say to her, I give you a place in my heart and in my life, in this family.
Give you a place in my life, my heart, my family.
I've missed you.
Missed you.
By saying that, Andrew, what's actually happening is actually you're actually getting back your true identity as a brother as well. Because sometimes you might not think of yourself as a brother to a little girl. And now you realize who you are, and I can see that in your eyes. There you go. That's
Yeah.
your power, my friend.
Yeah, I feel like I've carried a lot of weight too.
Yeah.
Because I know he talks about unpayable debts and whatnot, but definitely felt heavy. Felt like I was trying to, yeah. Like there was nothing that I ever did was good enough. And then it always reach points of, well, what's the point?
Yeah. And they're not good enough because you couldn't cure mom's sadness. Often when people feel nothing what I
Mm,
do is good enough, is because we cannot cure mom or dad's sadness. And the beauty of that is we're not meant to cure it. It's theirs to carry.
mm,
And when you realize that, you come to a realization that I am good enough actually. And we do that through healing sentences as well. It could be like, dear mom, some of this is yours. Dear mom, you're the big one. I've been the child in all of this. Please look at me with love or forgive me if I leave this, some of this with you. What is yours? There
so
you go.
powerful. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's where the real work is with mom and dad, and not how else would I have been able to find this out? Like, there's no way I could have found this out really on my own. And this is so important. And this is why I'm excited to have you on here because no one thinks about this. Most people don't even accept this, could even accept that this would be the solution.
Yeah.
So I appreciate you taking a little time with me there because it definitely resonates. I want to sit with that more and connect because I feel
Yeah.
like that was the last piece, at least on that.
Okay.
Um, so if people are watching right now and um, you know, what's something you can kind of leave them off with that they can after this session they can kind of like tune in, check in, okay, do I have this loyalty, maybe this isn't mine, etc.
Yeah, so I mean, they're welcome to look at my course, which has all the different kind of traumas and loyalties that we get stuck in, and healing sentences we can do for different traumas.
And I
That
want to make that point, you
stuff.
guys, like you can't actually do this alone. Like I wanted you guys to at least hop off here with some cool thing to apply that's relevant. But definitely like his resources are down below. We're going to get to that in a second. Reach out, get this therapy done. But if you're, if I were watching this, I'm going to do a little work after. What could I
Yeah,
do?
I would say so. Just look at your mom and look at your dad, or look at one of your parents that you feel drawn to look at in this moment. And you can try and say, dear mom or dear dad, I do this for you as well. You don't know what you're doing, but some of what you're doing is for them. And that will begin training your nervous system to understand that some of what you're doing is for one of your parents. And I can feel some of you feeling that already. And you can say, please forgive me if I leave some of this with you. Some of this is not mine to carry my entire life. Or some of this is not mine to carry. And just see how you feel about that. Some of you might feel like you're betraying your parents by saying that sentence. And so that's why we add the sentence, please forgive me. Or you can say the opposite. I will carry this, even if it costs me my happiness, even if it costs me my energy. And feel yourself saying that. I will do this for you, even if it costs me my energy. Good, beautiful. And now you can see that what it's costing you. And when you're aware of the cost, naturally you will begin to see a better way of honoring your parents, which could be without the entanglement, without carrying the pain on their behalf. Yeah. Another step would be to, ask your parents were there any miscarriages or abortions or previous, and if it feels safe to ask your parents, you can also ask them, were there any previous lovers, um, or affairs or something like that. And you can, often in constellation work, we honor the previous lovers. You can say, dear Miss whoever or dear Mr. whoever, thank you for leaving my father or my mother. Because you left, my parents met and I was born. But you honor them and give them a place also
Mm-hmm,
in the
mm-hmm.
system, you know.
Yeah, that's
Um,
important that it's honored because if it's rejected, that's what causes, dissonance. And I would love because when you are sharing that, the statement of uh the opposite statement, I felt some energy in my stomach, like area down here. And I'd like for us to kind of conclude this interview of how the family constellation energetic work applies to
mhm,
the body because I don't think people, at least for me before, I'm like, I don't know how that even applies, but now I'm like,
yeah.
yes.
So, absolutely. So, our nervous system is in tune with our emotions. And our nervous system then drives our physiology through the vagus nerve, through the adrenal system. So, we have a fight, flight, or freeze response, right? In our nervous system and our adrenal glands. And so, let's say you see, a scary shark. Your heart will race, your tongue will dry up, your eyes might get wider. That's the fear response or the freeze response. So physical changes are happening in relation to an emotional event. Okay. And similarly, when you see your mom in pain or your dad like go out or, you know, your mom suffering, you can see it visually and it'll cause a physical reaction. At the same time, which no one acknowledges though, is the unconscious traumas we talked about, the abortions, miscarriages, previous love affairs. All those are also entanglements, yeah, energetic entanglements. And on a consistent basis, our nervous system is responding to those or carrying those entanglements. And if our nervous system is carrying them, then our physiology is going to respond to that. carrying of the nervous system. And so our physiology changes, just like how the cancer got healed.
Mm,
I had another client where chronic shoulder pain, it was because basically we found out her mom had a miscarriage as well. And this was like 50 years later. She had shoulder pain for like probably 70 years or something.
mm,
And I got her to basically say, Dear mom, I've been sad along with you for a long time. This is your sadness. And I realized that I have my own sadness for my missing sibling. And I realized a lot of the pain was yours as well. Right in front of me, boom, right in front of me, Andrew, listeners, her shoulders started moving.
mm,
And she was like pain free and they were completely moving. Because the guarding happens in our nervous
mm,
system. It's a protective mechanism,
mm,
right? So if you have a chronic disease that's difficult to heal, I encourage you to look at a combination, of course, of naturopathic medicine, homeopathy, and family constellations therapy. And so I run retreats in different parts of the world where when you come, we look at these together. And of course, if you can come, then look at it for a family constellations therapist near you. All these resources are available. But choose a constellations therapist that combines gestalt and trauma healing, like we do
mm,
at the retreats, because those are more refined approaches to constellation work, in my opinion.
mm. Very nice. And one last thing, I have a question because I've heard in Bert's work where, for example, every woman in the family gets breast cancer, or every person in the family gets some kind of health and some kind of loyalty. What's that? And I know just to say that it's kind of a lot, but briefly, what's that? And then how can we what can we like do? Because you kind of gave us some tools on how to shift it, but just
Yeah.
to expand on that.
So every situation is different. I don't want to say that everyone's going to get breast cancer if their parents had breast cancer, yeah, if their mom had breast cancer.
Mm,
Every situation is different. So I'm just going to tune into what's the most appropriate answer to give in this moment. We have loyalties to our parents. If our parents suffer, we often take on that suffering. We want to be loyal to their path, yeah, unconsciously. And so for typically I see it as if my mom was married to a drunk person, an alcoholic, I'll often I myself might attract an alcoholic into my life because I
mm,
feel I might not deserve to be more happy than my mom,
mm,
for example. And so when it comes to cancer or physical disease as well, I'm loyal to a kind of dynamic in how to relate to people and how to associate with life. Typically, the diabetes. Diabetes is often a low self-worth issue.
mm,
And so that low self-worth and not deserving and stuff, it's ingrained so much in the family mentality that we kind of look at it as reality, as the normal way of thinking and feeling and deserving. And so by doing healing sentence, dear dad, forgive me, or dear grandfather, you struggled a lot and you were colonized by the British or something like that, and maybe you felt you didn't deserve much, or you were discouraged in life.
mm,
I leave, please forgive me if I leave some of this with you and find success in my life or joy. Yeah.
mm,
And same with cancer, then, dear mom, your pain is, you know, from generations. Your pain and grandma's pain is from grandma. You can even say that your pain is from grandma's pain. And I'm also carrying it with you in order to belong, to stay belonging to this lineage of women. And it'll cost me a lot in my life as well.
mm,
And I see maybe a better way to honor you or the lineage of women is to leave this now with the elders and find a different way of loving myself or humanity or men, depending on what the trauma is that caused the cancer in the first place. It could be a betrayal, it could be a loss of a child or a miscarriage. Yeah. These sort of things can
mm.
trigger according to what so I also use German new medicine. So according to a conflict, sometimes cancer can develop. So we look at healing the conflict so that it reduces the intensity of the cancer.
That's interesting. Yeah, there's so many different possibilities of why this thing's happening, which is why you guys listening get to tune in with Dr. Ameet. And he has all of his information down below. Reach out to him, get in contact. And before we go, I know that you have a gift that you like to share with the audience, and we'd love to hear what it is.
With pleasure. So if you're interested in healing your gut, your liver, emotional healing exercises, Yeah, and learning how to combine homeopathy and family constellations therapy and naturopathic medicine, of course. I have a lot of free courses and master classes on drameet.com. That's drameet.com. You can go through these at your own pace, and then there's full courses with like how to heal your gut, liver, adrenal system, heal emotional trauma, and there's a full course on family constellations therapy as well with healing sentences examples so that you can practice these and refine your own sentences as well.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Dr. Amit. Appreciate you tuning in. Thanks for the gift. Thanks for sharing your magic. Thanks for the little mini session. I appreciate that. And it was a really good time having you on here.
A pleasure, Andrew, and lots of love, everyone. Take care of yourselves. Thanks.
Thanks. Yeah, and everyone else, thanks for tuning in, doing this for yourself. I know you guys got one amazing tidbit here that you can apply into your life. And I always encourage you to reach out to the expert, one that really tuned in. Dr. Meet's awesome. You have his information. Please reach out. This work you just can't do alone. And if you're trying to do alone, that means something. So you should probably get some help. You guys stay
Sending you
tuned.
love, everyone.
I'll see you guys in the next one.